Welcome to the Sleep Outpost. If you enjoy drifting off to sleep with stories like this, hit subscribe so you never miss a new one. Now, settle in, take a deep breath, and let tonight's journey begin. Close your eyes. You're standing before a door carved into the face of an ancient mountain, where the last light of evening turns the stone to the color of warm honey, and the air carries the faintest scent of old parchment and cedar smoke. The door is not grand. It is not imposing. It is simply there, set into the rock as though it has always been there, as though the mountain itself grew around it, the way a tree grows around a stone nestled in its roots. The wood is dark and smooth, polished by centuries of hands pressing gently against its surface. There is no lock. There is no handle. There is only a single symbol etched into the grain, a compass rose, its cardinal points softened by time until they look less like directions and more like the petals of a flower just beginning to open. You press your palm against the wood, and it is warm. Not the warmth of fire or sunlight, but the warmth of something that has been quietly alive for a very long time. The door gives way beneath your touch, swinging inward without a sound, and a breath of air flows out to meet you, gentle, dry, carrying the fragrance of ink and amber and something older still. Something that reminds you of libraries you visited as a child, of turning pages in rooms where the light came through tall windows and the world outside seemed very far away. Let your shoulders soften now. Let the weight of the day begin to slide from you the way water slides from a stone. There is nothing you need to carry into this place. There is nothing you need to remember. There is only the doorway and the soft golden light spilling from within and the quiet invitation to step inside. You step across the threshold. The passage beyond is narrow but not confining. The walls are smooth stone, the color of old cream, and they curve gently upward to form a ceiling just high enough that you could reach up and brush your fingertips against it if you wished. Small lanterns hang from iron hooks set into the walls at intervals, not torches, nothing that crackles or spits, but lanterns of frosted glass that hold a light like captured moonbeams, pale and steady and impossibly soft. They cast no sharp shadows. Everything here exists in a gentle gradient between light and a darkness that is not darkness at all, but simply a deeper shade of warmth. The floor beneath your feet is stone as well, but it has been worn smooth by generations of quiet footsteps, and it feels almost soft against the soles of your shoes. Each step you take produces only the faintest whisper, a sound so small it might be the passage itself breathing. You walk slowly. There is no reason to hurry. The passage curves to the left, then to the right, descending gradually into the heart of the mountain. The air grows warmer as you go deeper, but it is a comfortable warmth, the kind you feel when you pull a blanket around your shoulders on a cool evening. The scent of parchment grows stronger, layered now with hints of beeswax and the faint mineral tang of very old stone. And then the passage opens. It opens the way a held breath releases, gently, fully, all at once, and you find yourself standing at the edge of an enormous chamber. A space so vast and so quietly magnificent that you simply stop and let your eyes adjust to the wonder of it. This is the Vault of Caelhorn. The ceiling arches high above you, so high that it vanishes into a soft amber haze, as though the upper reaches of the chamber have their own weather, their own gentle atmosphere of warmth and diffused light. Great columns of pale stone rise from the floor like ancient trees, their surfaces carved with spiraling patterns that might be vines, or rivers, or the wandering paths of stars across a sky you have never seen. Between the columns, stretching in every direction, are shelves, thousands upon thousands of shelves, made of dark wood and polished brass, and upon every shelf, in careful rows and gentle stacks, are maps. Maps of every size. Maps rolled into scrolls and tied with ribbons of silk. Maps folded into squares no larger than your palm. Maps spread across wide reading tables, their corners held down by smooth river stones. Maps pinned to standing frames with tiny silver pins that catch the lantern light and wink like distant stars. Breathe slowly now. Let the air fill your lungs the way light fills this room, gently, completely, without effort. You are safe here. You are welcome here. The Vault of Caelhorn has been waiting for you, the way a favorite chair waits in a quiet room, the way a bed waits at the end of a long day. And somewhere in this vast and peaceful archive, someone is humming. The sound is barely there, a thread of melody so thin and so tender that it seems to come from the air itself, from the stone, from the ancient paper of the maps. It rises and falls like breath, like the rhythm of gentle waves against a shore you cannot see but somehow know is near. It is the sound of someone content in their work, someone who has been here for a very long time and who loves every quiet moment of it. You follow the sound, moving slowly between the shelves, your fingers trailing along the edges of map cases and the spines of leather-bound atlases. The light here is the color of late afternoon, of autumn, of candles reflected in old glass. It wraps around you like a shawl, and you feel yourself settling into this place, the way a leaf settles onto the surface of a still pond. The humming grows slightly clearer as you round a tall shelf lined with scrolls in cases of blue and silver leather. And there, seated at a wide desk beneath a lantern that glows the warm gold of a harvest moon, you find the mapkeeper. She is old, not in a way that suggests fragility, but in the way that mountains are old, that rivers are old, that certain trees in certain forests have been standing so long they have become part of the landscape itself. Her hair is silver white, pulled back loosely and held with a clasp shaped like a crescent moon. Her eyes, when she looks up at you, are the soft gray blue of a sky just before dawn, and they hold a warmth that makes you feel as though you have known her for a very long time, even though you are certain you have never been here before. She wears a long robe the color of deep twilight, embroidered at the cuffs and collar with tiny silver threads that form the shapes of constellations. Some you recognize, some you do not. Her hands are ink-stained, the way a painter's hands carry traces of pigment, and they rest upon a map that she has been studying with the quiet concentration of someone reading a letter from a dear and distant friend. "You've come," she says, and her voice is soft, unhurried, like the sound of pages turning in a room where the fire has burned low and the hour is late. "I thought you might tonight. The maps have been restless, shifting their borders, rewriting their legends. They do that sometimes when someone new is meant to see them." She rises from her chair and gestures for you to come closer. There is no urgency in the movement, no expectation. It is simply an invitation, as natural as an open door or a path through a garden. Let your breathing slow. Let each breath come like a wave rolling gently onto shore and drawing softly back again. You are here, and that is enough. There is nothing to do but listen and look and let yourself drift. "My name is Alara," she says, "and I am the keeper of this archive. The last keeper, some say, though I have never been much concerned with counting. The maps are what matter. The maps and the worlds they hold." She moves around the desk, and you see now that the surface is covered not just with the one map she was studying, but with layers of maps, translucent sheets of paper and vellum, and something that looks like woven moonlight, each one showing a different landscape, a different sky, a different arrangement of rivers and mountains and shores. When layered together, they create something that is more than a map. It is a window, a glimpse into places that exist somewhere between waking and sleeping, between memory and dream. Every map in this archive, Alara continues, moving slowly between the shelves and trailing her fingers across the spines of atlases the way you might trail your hand through still water, shows a world that can only be reached through stillness, through quiet, through the act of letting go. She pauses beside a shelf where a collection of small maps, no larger than postcards, are displayed in frames of dark wood. Each one is painted in watercolors, so delicate they seem to tremble in the lantern light. A field of lavender beneath a crescent moon, a lake of silver glass reflecting a sky full of stars, a winding path through a forest where every tree is in bloom with flowers the color of sleep. These are the resting lands, she says softly, places that exist only when someone needs them. A meadow appears when a traveler is weary. A shore reveals itself when the tide of someone's thoughts grows too rough. A mountain cabin materializes when the cold of the world outside becomes too much to bear alone. She lifts one of the small maps from its frame and holds it out to you. It shows a valley, a deep, green, impossibly peaceful valley where a river winds through fields of tall grass that seem to sway in a breeze you can almost feel. Above the valley, the sky is the color of fading lavender, and a single star hangs low on the horizon, so bright and so steady it seems less like a star and more like a lantern left burning in a window by someone waiting for you to come home. "Would you like to see more?" Elara asks. And her voice, when she speaks, has the quality of a candle flame, warm, steady, gently flickering at the edges. You nod, of course you would. She smiles, a small, quiet smile that reaches her gray-blue eyes and makes them shine like moonlight on calm water. And she turns, gesturing for you to follow her deeper into the archive. "Come," she says, "let me show you the maps that dream." Elara leads you through the shelves with the ease of someone who has walked these aisles for centuries. She does not hurry. Her footsteps are so soft they barely register against the stone, and you find your own pace slowing to match hers, your breath deepening, your shoulders dropping another fraction of an inch. The archive unfolds around you like a story told in whispers. Each aisle is different. Some are narrow and intimate, lined with scrolls in honey-colored cases. Others are wide and open, with maps displayed on standing easels or suspended from the ceiling on threads so fine they are nearly invisible. The maps themselves turning slowly in currents of air, so gentle you cannot feel them on your skin. Let your body soften now. Let your jaw unclench. Let your hands rest open, palms upward, the way a flower opens to receive the rain. There is nothing here that requires your effort, nothing that demands your attention. You are simply walking and looking and allowing yourself to be held by the warmth and the quiet of this place. "This section," Elara says, pausing beside a large alcove set into the wall, "is what I call the Gallery of Sleeping Worlds." The alcove is deep, and its walls are lined with maps that glow. Not brightly, not with the harsh light of something electric or burning, but with the soft, internal radiance of things that carry their own gentle luminescence. Bioluminescent. Like certain deep-sea creatures, like certain fungi in certain forests, like the way snow seems to glow from within on a clear winter night beneath a full moon. Each map shows a world that is asleep. The first one you see depicts an entire continent, vast, sweeping, its coastlines drawn in silver ink that shimmers like liquid mercury. But the continent is not awake. Its cities are dark. Its roads are empty. Its forests are still. Across the top of the map, in a script so elegant it looks like calligraphy made of starlight, are the words, "The Lindra sleeping since the third tide of stars." "The Lindra sleeps beneath a sea of clouds," Elara murmurs, standing beside you and gazing at the map with a fondness that speaks of long familiarity. "It has been sleeping for longer than I can remember, and I can remember a great deal. The people of the Lindra chose to sleep. They gathered in their halls and their gardens and their quiet homes, and they decided together that the world had grown too loud, too bright, too fast. So they dimmed their lanterns and closed their eyes, and let the clouds come down to cover them like a blanket." She touches the edge of the map with one ink-stained finger, and you see something extraordinary. The clouds on the map begin to move. Slowly, so slowly, they drift across the sleeping continent like breath across a mirror, parting just enough to reveal, for a moment, a city of pale towers beneath, every window dark, every street quiet, every garden blooming with night-blooming flowers that need no eyes to witness their beauty. They are dreaming still, Alara says, all of them together, one long, shared dream of peace. You move to the next map. This one shows an ocean, but not an ocean of water. An ocean of light. Pale, golden, shimmering light that rolls in waves across a surface that stretches to every horizon. Islands float in this ocean of light like sleeping whales, their surfaces covered in forests of silver trees whose leaves are stars. The luminous deep, the map reads, charted by the Cartomancer Idris in the year of quiet sails. Breathe in slowly. Hold the breath for just a moment, the way you might hold a soap bubble on your palm, gently, without grasping. Then let it go. Let it dissolve into the air around you, carrying with it any last trace of tension, of hurry, of the world you left outside the mountain door. The luminous deep is not a place you travel to, Alara explains, her voice dropping even softer, barely above a whisper now. It is a place you arrive at, when you have been still for long enough, when your thoughts have grown quiet enough, when you have stopped trying to reach anywhere at all, you find yourself there. Floating in that golden light, drifting between the silver islands, hearing nothing but the sound of your own heartbeat, slow and steady and perfectly at peace. She leads you past more maps, a world made entirely of twilight, where the sun neither rises nor sets but hangs forever at the horizon, painting everything in shades of amber and rose and the deep, velvety blue of a summer evening that will never end. A world of gentle rain, where water falls so softly it makes no sound, and the land beneath is carpeted in moss so thick and so green it seems to breathe. A world of libraries, endless libraries, where books read themselves aloud in murmurs too quiet to understand but too beautiful to ignore. Each map glows. Each map breathes. Each map holds a world that has chosen stillness, that has wrapped itself in quiet the way you might wrap yourself in a beloved blanket on a cold night. And you feel, as you walk among them, that stillness seeping into you, into your muscles, into your bones, into the spaces between your thoughts where silence lives. Alara leads you away from the gallery of sleeping worlds and into a room you did not notice before, a room that seems to have appeared only when you were ready to find it. It is smaller than the great chamber of the archive, more intimate. The ceiling is lower, the light warmer. It feels like a workshop, or a study, or the kind of room where someone does their most cherished and private work. There is a large table in the center, made of wood so old it has turned the color of dark honey, and upon the table are the tools of the Cartomancer's trade. You approach slowly, and Alara stands aside, allowing you to look. There are pens, dozens of them, each one different. Some are made of glass, clear as water, and when you look closely you can see that the ink inside them moves, swirling in slow spirals like currents in a deep, calm sea. Some are made of bone, white and smooth, their tips so fine they could draw a line thinner than a strand of spider silk. Some are made of materials you cannot name, something that looks like solidified moonlight, something that feels like captured breath, something that shimmers between silver and gold depending on the angle from which you view it. Each pen, Alara says, lifting one made of dark blue glass and holding it up to the lantern light, writes in a different medium. This one writes in starlight. It can only be used on nights when the sky is clear and the constellations are visible. The ink it produces glows faintly, and the maps drawn with it show only the territories that exist between the stars. She sets it down and picks up another. A pen carved from what looks like a piece of driftwood, smooth and gray and shaped by water over many years. This one writes in tidewater. The maps it draws are always changing, always shifting, because the tides never stop moving. A coastline drawn at high tide will be different from one drawn at low tide, and both are true and both are beautiful. Let your thoughts grow quiet now. Let them settle the way sediment settles in a glass of water that has been set down on a table and left in peace. You do not need to think about anything. You do not need to understand anything. You are simply here, in this room of gentle wonders, and the wonders will show themselves to you in their own time, in their own way. On another part of the table, you see compasses, but not the compasses you know. These do not point north. One compass has a needle that spins slowly, endlessly, in a circle, and Alara tells you it points toward whatever the holder most needs to find, which is not always what they think they are looking for. Another compass has no needle at all, just a bowl of water so still it reflects the ceiling above like a perfect mirror. And Alara says this one shows you where you already are, which is, she adds with a gentle smile, the most difficult territory of all to map. There are rulers made of crystal that measure not distance, but duration. How long a moment of peace lasts, how many breaths it takes for a worry to dissolve, how far a lullaby can travel before it fades into silence. There are magnifying glasses that do not enlarge what is small but clarify what is blurred. Hold one over a map, and the vague, impressionistic brushstrokes resolve into extraordinary detail. Individual blades of grass in a meadow, individual drops of dew on a spider's web, individual stars in a sky that stretches forever. The tools are as important as the maps, Alara says, settling into a chair beside the table and folding her hands in her lap. A map is only a record, but the tools, the pens, the compasses, the glasses, these are how we listen, how we pay attention, how we notice the worlds that exist just at the edge of perception, just beyond the reach of ordinary sight. She picks up a small, round lens, no larger than a coin, and holds it up to one eye, peering through it at something you cannot see. Through this lens, she murmurs, I can see the territories that only exist at night. Would you like to look? She offers you the lens, and you hold it to your eye, and the world shifts. Through the lens, the room transforms. The walls become translucent, and beyond them you can see not the stone of the mountain, but a vast, dark, star-filled sky. And in that sky, there are lands. Floating lands, drifting slowly through the darkness like continents of cloud, their surfaces dusted with frost that catches the starlight and scatters it in every direction. Rivers of silver mist wind through valleys of shadow. Forests of crystalline trees stand motionless in the airless dark, their branches hung with droplets of light that may be dew or may be very small, very quiet stars. Breathe slowly, in and out, like the tide, like the turning of the earth, like the slow, majestic drift of those nightlands through the sky beyond the lens. You lower the lens, and the room returns to its warm, lantern-lit normality. But you carry the image with you, those floating lands, that star-filled dark, that impossible, beautiful silence. Alara takes the lens back and tucks it into a pocket of her twilight-colored robe. Come, she says, there is more to see, and the deeper we go, the quieter it becomes. You follow Alara through a low archway at the back of the instrument room, and as you pass through it, the air changes. It becomes cooler, not cold, but cool the way a cellar is cool, the way the air beneath a bridge is cool on a summer day, and the scent changes too, becoming richer, deeper, like the smell of ink and old stone and the faintest trace of rain on dry earth. The passage slopes gently downward, and the lanterns on the walls are farther apart here, their light dimmer, so that the spaces between them are filled with a soft, velvety darkness that feels not like the absence of light, but like a presence of its own, warm, protective, embracing. And then you hear it. Water, or something like water. A soft, continuous murmur, like a stream running over smooth stones, but deeper somehow, richer, as though the liquid flowing in the darkness ahead is not water at all, but something thicker. Something that carries within it all the stories ever written, all the lines ever drawn, all the words ever whispered into the quiet of a late and drowsy night. The passage opens into a cavern, long and low, and lit by a light that comes from below, from the surface of the river that flows through its center. It is a river of ink. Not black ink, not the stark and definitive ink of contracts and declarations. This ink is the color of midnight, deep, deep blue-black, with swirls of silver and hints of indigo, and here and there, a thread of gold that catches the light and sends it dancing across the cavern, sealing in slow, hypnotic patterns. The river flows without hurry, without turbulence, its surface as smooth as glass, except where the current creates gentle eddies that spiral slowly, like the whorls of a fingerprint or the arms of a distant galaxy. "This is the source," Elara says, and her voice echoes softly in the cavern, the echo itself sounding like a lullaby. Every map in the archive was drawn with ink from this river, and the river flows from somewhere deep within the earth, deeper than the mountain, deeper than the roots of the oldest stones. Some say it flows from the place where dreams are born. I do not know if that is true, but I know that when I dip my pen into this ink and draw a line upon a page, the line knows where it wants to go. I am only the hand that holds the pen. The ink does the remembering. Let your body grow heavy now, the way a stone grows heavy when it sinks through water. Not an unpleasant heaviness, not the weight of burden or fatigue, but the warm, welcome heaviness of a body that has found a place to rest. Let your limbs settle. Let your muscles release their hold on the day. There is nothing to do but be here, in this cavern of ink and gentle light, and let the soft murmur of the river carry your thoughts downstream, one by one, until your mind is as smooth and as still as the surface of that dark and shining water. There is a narrow stone walkway along the edge of the river, and you follow Elara along it, your footsteps barely audible above the whisper of the current. As you walk, you notice that the walls of the cavern are not bare stone, they are covered in writing. Tiny, intricate, beautiful writing, in scripts and languages you have never seen, covering every surface from the waterline to as high as you can see. Some of the writing glows faintly, as though the words themselves carry a charge of meaning so powerful it has become visible. "These are the names," Elara says, running her hand along the wall as she walks. "The names of every Cartomancer who has ever drawn a map, every traveler who has ever followed one, every dreamer who has ever wandered into a world that exists only on paper and ink. The river remembers them all, and it writes their names upon the walls as it passes." You look more closely and see that the writing is not carved or painted, it is growing. Like moss, like lichen, like the slow and patient calligraphy of nature itself. Each name appears gradually, letter by letter, emerging from the stone as though the stone is remembering something it knew long ago and is only now finding the words to say. The river curves ahead, and where it curves, the water deepens and slows, forming a pool of such perfect stillness that it reflects the cavern's ceiling with the clarity of a mirror. You stop at the edge of this pool and look down, and what you see is not your own reflection, but a sky, a vast, star-filled sky reflected in the dark ink, so detailed and so beautiful that for a moment you feel as though you are standing not at the edge of a pool, but at the edge of the universe itself, looking down into infinity. Breathe in, let the breath fill you like light filling a lantern. Breathe out, let everything go. Elara guides you away from the river and up a winding stair carved into the living rock. The stairs are shallow and wide, designed for slow ascent, and each step carries you higher with a gentleness that makes the climbing feel less like effort and more like floating, like rising slowly through warm water, like a bubble drifting upward through honey. At the top of the stairs, you enter a circular room. The room has no windows, but it does not need them. The entire ceiling is a map. Not a map painted on the ceiling or projected onto it. The ceiling is the map, a living, breathing, slowly shifting representation of a world you have never seen and will never forget. It stretches above you like a dome, and its surface moves the way the surface of a lake moves in a breeze. Gently, continuously, each ripple carrying a change, a shift, a new configuration of the territories it shows. "This is the oldest map in the archive," Elara says, lowering herself onto a cushioned bench that curves along the wall of the room. She gestures for you to sit beside her, and you do, sinking into the cushion with a gratitude your body expresses before your mind can form the thought. It was not drawn by any Cartomancer. It drew itself. It has been drawing itself for as long as anyone can remember, and it shows a world that does not exist in any fixed form. A world that is always becoming, always dissolving, always reforming into something new. You lean back and look up. The map ceiling shows a landscape of extraordinary gentleness. Soft hills roll into soft valleys. Rivers meander in wide, lazy curves through meadows of silver-green grass. Forests of trees whose leaves are the color of dusk, deep purple, faded rose, pale gold, stand in groves along the riverbanks, their branches bending under the weight of blossoms that fall slowly, endlessly, like snow made of petals. And the landscape breathes. You can see it, a slow, rhythmic expansion and contraction, as though the entire world depicted on the ceiling is a living being, a creature so vast and so gentle that its breathing is the wind, its heartbeat is the tide. Its dreams are the clouds that drift across its sky in shapes that almost form letters, almost form words, almost tell you something you already know but have temporarily forgotten. Let your own breathing match the rhythm of the map. Slow in, slow out. Feel the rise and fall of your chest, the gentle expansion of your ribs, the warmth of the air entering and leaving your body. You are breathing with the map. You are breathing with the world it shows. You are part of its rhythm now, and its rhythm is as old and as steady as the turning of the stars. Watch the borders, Elara whispers. You watch, and you see that the borders of the map, the edges where land meets sea, where forest meets meadow, where mountain meets sky, are not fixed lines. They are gradients, soft transitions, places where one thing becomes another thing so gradually that you cannot point to the moment of change. The meadow does not end and the forest begin. Instead, the grass grows taller, and between the tall blades, saplings appear, and the saplings grow into trees, and the trees grow closer together. And at some point you realize you are looking at a forest, but you cannot say when the meadow stopped being a meadow. That is how the world really is, Elara says, her voice barely louder than the sound of your own breathing. No hard edges, no sudden changes, everything flows into everything else. Sleep flows into waking, waking flows into dream, day flows into night. And we, you and I, we flow through it all, like water through these ancient halls. The map shifts again. The hills flatten and spread, becoming a wide plain beneath a sky of deepening violet. Across the plain, a road appears, not a road of stone or packed earth, but a road of light, a pale golden path that winds toward the horizon like a ribbon of dawn laid across the darkening land. Nothing walks along this road. Nothing needs to. It simply exists, offering its direction to anyone who might one day need it, patient and unhurried, content to wait. You feel your eyelids growing heavy. Not with fatigue, but with the particular weight of deep contentment. The heaviness that comes when every part of you is at ease, when there is nothing left to resist, nothing left to hold up, nothing left to do but let go and drift. And that is exactly what this room was made for. Time moves differently in the Vault of Caelhorn. You know this without being told. You can feel it in the way the light changes, not abruptly, not in the sudden shifts of ordinary hours, but in slow, imperceptible gradations, the way the sky changes color at dusk, so gradually that you cannot see it happening, but can always see that it has happened. Elara rises from the bench, and you follow her, or perhaps you float after her, because your body feels so light now, so free of weight and worry, that walking and floating have become the same thing. She leads you into a corridor that is different from the others. This one is dark, truly dark, but it is a darkness without threat, without menace, without anything at all except a deep, star-scattered beauty. The walls of the corridor are made of something that looks like black glass, polished to a mirror finish. And in that glass, you can see reflections of stars. Not the stars outside the mountain, but other stars, stars from other skies, arranged in constellations that tell stories you have never heard in a language you have never spoken, but somehow understand. Let your thoughts grow still. Let them rest on the surface of your mind the way fallen leaves rest on the surface of a pond, present, but unmoving, carried by nothing, going nowhere. There is nothing to think about here. There is nothing to figure out. There is only the darkness and the stars and the soft sound of Alara's footsteps ahead of you and the gentle rhythm of your own breathing, steady and slow and perfectly at peace. The tides of stars, Alara says, pausing beside a section of the glass wall where the reflected stars seem to swirl in a slow, majestic spiral, are the greatest maps of all. Not maps of places, but maps of time, of moments, of the spaces between moments where stillness lives. She touches the glass, and the stars respond, not by moving faster, but by growing brighter, each one pulsing gently with its own slow rhythm, like heartbeats, like breathing, like the cadence of a song so quiet it exists only in the pauses between notes. Each star you see, she continues, is a moment of perfect peace that someone somewhere once experienced. A moment when the world fell away and there was nothing left but the pure, simple feeling of being alive. The stars remember these moments. They hold them. They shine with them. You look at the stars in the glass and you realize she is right. Each one carries a feeling, not a feeling you can name exactly, but a feeling you recognize, the way you recognize the scent of a place you loved as a child, the way you recognize the particular quality of light on a particular kind of afternoon. Each star is a moment when someone sat by a window and watched the rain. A moment when someone held a sleeping child. A moment when someone closed their eyes and listened to music that moved them to a stillness beyond words. The corridor opens into a room that is all glass, floor, walls, ceiling, and through the glass, in every direction, you can see the tides of stars. They move in vast, slow currents, like rivers of light flowing through the darkness, braiding and separating and braiding again in patterns of such beauty and such complexity that they feel less like patterns and more like prayers. Offerings of light sent into the darkness by the universe itself, for no reason except that light is what the universe does when it is at peace. You stand in the center of this glass room and the stars flow around you, above you and below you and on every side. You are in the middle of the river of stars, and the river carries you without moving you, the way a dream carries you through landscapes you have never visited and yet somehow know by heart. Breathe slowly. Let the stars breathe with you. Let their light fill the spaces inside you where tension used to live, where worry used to build its small, persistent fires. The fires are out now. The spaces are filled with light, and the light asks nothing of you. It simply is. Alara stands beside you in the glass room, and she does not speak. There is nothing left to say. The stars say everything, and what they say is, rest. You are here. You are held. You can let go. When you are ready, and only when you are ready, because nothing in this place moves faster than your willingness to receive it, Alara leads you to the deepest part of the archive. It is a small room, hardly larger than a closet, tucked behind a curtain of dark velvet that feels, when you brush against it, like the softest thing you have ever touched, softer than silk, softer than the fur of a sleeping cat, softer than the air that moves across your face just before you fall asleep. Inside the room, there is a single book. It rests on a pedestal of dark wood, open to a page somewhere in its middle, and the book is enormous, not in height or width, but in depth. It must be 1,000 pages thick, each page as thin and translucent as a dragonfly's wing, and when the lantern light passes through them, you can see layers upon layers of maps, each one overlapping and interweaving with the others like the memories in a very old and very full mind. This is the Atlas of Night Territories, Alara says, and her voice has grown so soft now that it is almost indistinguishable from silence. It contains every map of every place that exists only in the dark, not in the darkness of fear or loss, but in the darkness of rest. The darkness that comes when you close your eyes. The darkness that wraps around you when you lie down at the end of the day and let the world go. She turns a page, and the paper makes a sound like a sigh, a tiny, contented exhalation, as though the book itself is breathing. Let your whole body soften now. Let every muscle, every fiber, every cell release its hold on wakefulness. You are sinking, gently, slowly, into a state of such deep relaxation that the boundary between your body and the cushioned air around you has begun to dissolve. You are here, and you are drifting, and the drifting feels like coming home. The page Alara has turned to shows a territory you have never imagined. It is a land of perpetual twilight, not the twilight of evening, with its urgency of fading light, but a twilight that has no dawn and no dusk, a twilight that simply is. The sky above this land is the color of deep water, dark blue, with veins of purple and silver running through it like mineral deposits in stone. Beneath this sky, a landscape of extraordinary softness unfolds, hills covered in moss that glows with a faint blue light, rivers that flow without sound, forests of trees whose bark is the color of old silver and whose leaves are translucent, catching the twilight and holding it the way stained glass holds the light of the sun. This territory, Alara whispers, is called the Quiet Reach. It is where the mind goes when it has finished thinking, when every thought has been thought through to its end and released, and there is nothing left but the clean, empty, peaceful space where thoughts used to be. She turns another page. This territory is different, a seascape, a vast and gentle ocean beneath a sky of soft black velvet pinpricked with stars so small and so numerous they look like dust, diamond dust, scattered across the darkness by a hand that was generous beyond measure. The ocean's surface is calm, not the eerie calm of something that will storm, but the calm of something that has never stormed and never will. Gentle swells rise and fall with the slowness of deep breathing, and on the surface of the water, here and there, small boats drift with no one at the helm, their sails furled, their hulls rocking with the rhythm of the waves. The dreamers see, Alara says, those boats carry no passengers. They carry sleep. They drift across the water, and wherever they go, stillness follows. If you were to step into one of those boats, you would feel the water rocking you the way a mother rocks a child, gently, rhythmically, with a love so old and so deep it has no beginning and no end. You can almost feel it, the rocking, the slow, steady, side-to-side motion of a small boat on a calm sea. Your body sways with it, imperceptibly, and the swaying loosens the last knots in your muscles, the last threads of tension in your mind. Alara turns another page, and another. Each territory is a world of night, of quiet, of rest. A desert of cool, dark sand beneath a sky of wheeling stars. A garden of night-blooming flowers whose petals open in slow motion, releasing fragrances that smell like memory, like the pillow of your childhood bed, like the blanket your grandmother made, like the air in a room where someone you love is sleeping safely. The atlas closes with a whisper, and the room grows darker still, not with the darkness of endings, but with the darkness of deep night, of the hours when the world has finished its turning and rests in the gentle arms of space, suspended among the stars like a child cradled in the arms of sleep. Alara takes your hand. Her touch is light, barely there, like the weight of a petal resting on your skin. She leads you through another curtain, this one even softer than the last, into a chamber that feels less like a room and more like a nest. A warm, enclosed, impossibly comfortable space, with walls that curve inward like the inside of a shell and a floor covered in cushions and blankets so deep and so soft that when you settle into them, you feel yourself sinking, gently, slowly, into a warmth that has no bottom, a softness that has no end. The light here is so dim it barely exists. Just a faint amber glow, like the last ember of a fire that burned all evening and is now content to fade, knowing it has given all the warmth that was needed. Let everything go now, every thought, every plan, every question, every answer. Let them fall away from you the way leaves fall from a tree in autumn, naturally, without effort, without loss. They will be there in the morning if you need them, but you do not need them now. You need nothing now. You are here and you are held, and the night is gentle and the silence is kind. Ilara sits beside you, and she begins to hum. It is the same melody you heard when you first entered the archive, that thin, tender thread of sound that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. But now, this close, you can hear it clearly, and it is the most soothing sound you have ever heard. It has no words. It needs no words. It is a melody that speaks directly to the part of you that is tired, the part that has been carrying the weight of days and weeks and months, the part that wants, more than anything, to rest. The humming rises and falls like breath, like waves, like the slow rhythm of the map that breathes on the ceiling of the circular room above. It wraps around you the way the blankets wrap around your body, gently, completely, with a tenderness that asks nothing and gives everything. You have seen the maps, Ilara murmurs between phrases of the melody, her voice so quiet now that it blends with the humming until you cannot tell where one ends and the other begins. You have seen the sleeping worlds. You have seen the tides of stars and the territories of night. But there is one map I have not shown you, the most important map of all. She pauses, and in the silence, you hear nothing, nothing at all, and the nothing is perfect. It is the sound of deep night, of deep space, of the deep and dreamless sleep that waits for you like a door left open at the end of a long hallway. The most important map, she whispers, is the one that shows the way to where you are right now. Not this room, not this mountain, but here, this moment, this breath, this heartbeat, this perfect, unrepeatable instant of being alive and being at peace. She hums again, and the melody is simpler now, barely a melody at all, just two notes, rising and falling, like the chest of a sleeping child, like the surface of a sea so calm it has become a mirror for the stars. That map cannot be drawn, she says. It can only be lived, and you are living it now. Your eyes are closing, not because you are forcing them to close, but because they have grown so heavy with peace, so weighted with the accumulation of all this warmth and all this quiet, that closing them is the most natural thing in the world. As natural as breathing, as natural as the turning of the earth, as natural as the slow drift of stars across a sky that has been performing this ancient, unhurried dance since long before the first map was ever drawn. Breathe in. The air is warm and smells of cedar and ink, and the faintest trace of night-blooming flowers from the atlas of night territories. As though the scent has drifted off the page and into the air of this room, this shell, this nest of cushions and warmth and Ilara's humming. Breathe out. Let the breath carry the last of everything, the last thought, the last image, the last faint flicker of awareness that you are anywhere at all. The humming fades, not because it stops, but because you have sunk so deep into stillness that sound itself has become optional, a visitor that comes and goes as it pleases, leaving no mark, asking no permission. You are drifting now. Not through space, not through time, through something softer than either, something that has no name because it has never needed one. It is the territory that exists beneath all the maps, beneath all the carefully inked lines and colored regions and labeled seas. It is the blank page before the first mark, the silence before the first note, the darkness before the first star. Ilara's voice comes to you from very far away or very close. Distance has lost its meaning here, the way it loses its meaning in dreams, where the other side of the world can be as near as the next room, and the next room can be as far as the stars. Sleep now, she says, and her voice is the voice of the mountain, the voice of the stone, the voice of the river of ink flowing deep beneath the earth. Sleep now and know that the archive keeps watch. The maps are safe. The worlds are sleeping. The stars are turning in their slow and ancient courses, and everything is exactly as it should be. There is nothing to do. There is nothing to remember. There is nothing to plan or solve or understand. There is only this moment, this breath, this warm and infinite darkness, this feeling of being held by something larger than yourself, something gentle and old and immeasurably kind. The map of sleep is unfolding beneath you. Not a map you can see, because your eyes are closed now, and the darkness behind your eyelids is the softest darkness you have ever known. Not a map you can touch, because your hands are resting, open and empty, in the warmth of the blankets. It is a map you feel, a map drawn in the language of heartbeats and slow breaths and the quiet hum of blood in your veins. A map that leads nowhere and everywhere, that has no edges and no center. That is nothing more and nothing less than the experience of being utterly, completely, peacefully at rest. The Vault of Caelhorn holds you. The mountain holds the vault. The earth holds the mountain. The sky holds the earth. And the stars, the vast, slow, endlessly patient stars, hold everything, turning and turning and turning in their ancient wheel, carrying you with them in their long and gentle journey through the dark. Let your shoulders soften. They have already softened, but let them soften again, deeper this time, into a softness that has no floor, that goes down and down and down like the river of ink flowing into the heart of the earth. Let your jaw unclench. Let your tongue rest against the roof of your mouth or wherever it wants to rest. Let your face smooth. Let your brow release the last faint line of thought, the last trace of expression, until your face is as calm and as still as the surface of the dreamer's sea. Let your hands grow heavy. Let your arms grow heavy. Let your legs grow heavy. Let the heaviness spread through your body like warmth through water, like ink through paper, like starlight through the dark glass walls of the corridor, where the tides of stars flow in their endless, unhurried currents. You are the map now. You are the territory it shows. You are the blank page and the first line and the final flourish of the Cartomancer's pen. You are the ink that flows from the river deep beneath the mountain. You are the star that shines in the glass corridor. You are the sleeping world beneath its blanket of cloud. You are the boat drifting on the dreamer's sea. You are the petal falling from the tree in the land of perpetual twilight. You are the name written on the cavern wall by the patient hand of water. You are all of it and none of it, and the space between all of it and none of it is where you rest now, in the gentle, humming, candle-lit, star-scattered silence of the Vault of Caelhorn, where the maps dream and the mapkeeper watches and the night goes on forever. Not because it must, but because it is beautiful, and because you are part of its beauty, and because there is nowhere else you need to be. Ilara's humming has become your breathing. Your breathing has become the wind. The wind has become the turning of the stars. And the stars, the old, kind, unhurried stars, are singing you to sleep. Sleep now. Asleep. The maps will keep. The archive will wait. The mountain will hold its shape around you like cupped hands around a flame, and when you wake, whenever you wake, in your own time, in your own way, the world will be there, gentle and familiar, ready to welcome you back. But that is for later. That is for morning. That is for a time that is not this time. This time is for sleep. And sleep is here. And you are safe. And the Cartomancer's archive keeps its quiet watch over you, and over all the sleeping worlds, and over all the drifting tides of stars, and over all the territories that only exist at night. Territories of peace, of stillness, of rest. And the last thing you hear, before the silence becomes complete, is the faintest echo of Ilara's voice, barely a whisper, barely a breath, saying, "Rest now, the maps remember the way home." And then silence. And then peace. And then sleep.